What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Stranglers and Anglers MMA podcast. I'm here with my co-host James. I'm JJ. Today we're going to be breaking down UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. James, what a crazy main event, man. About as good of a matchup that the UFC could possibly make, I think, in any weight division.
Yeah, dude. It, it's crazy, Topuria's come up. Volkanovski, as legendary as they come at 145, Topuria as big a prospect as the 45 division scene since McGregor, like as far as like the rise and like the dominance, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Um, yeah, dude, it's a crazy main event. Well, I wanted to hear your thoughts first on this fight before I
Yeah,
dug in.
yeah, dude. We'll get into it. So, Topuria sitting at plus 105 right now. Volkanovski minus 120. Um, I got a bet probably like a month ago, maybe a little over. I got Topuria at plus 154, so I'm pretty happy with that bet based on how that line is moving. Um, yeah, man, I just think Topuria is the real deal here, and I think he's kind of that next wave of superstar in the UFC. His skills are so good. He's so well rounded. You know, I one of my favorite bets I've hit is Topuria by sub against Bryce Mitchell at like plus 650 because people don't realize how elite of a grappler this guy is because he's just deading people with that overhand right and his powerful left hooks, man. Yeah, I think Topuria is a better boxer. I think Volk is going to be really strong and tough to grapple, but like if the fight gets to the ground, I mean, I favor Topuria over Volkanovski in the grappling exchanges. It certainly worries me. The leg kicks are there. Topuria leaves himself open for those leg kicks with that boxing stance he has, and Volk is so good at just getting in and out. Also, Volk's cardio is elite too, right? Like we've seen him go 5 rounds with Islam Makhachev and look like the better fighter in that fifth round. So there are things that worry me, but yeah, man, at plus 154, I just think it's Topuria's time. And the last thing I'll say too is like Volk is hittable when he when you get in the pocket and box with him, and that's what Topuria is gonna do. Like we've seen Holloway drop him, we've seen Mendez rock him. He's there to be hit, and I think that Topuria has different power than even both those guys. I know Matt Mendez has massive power, but I think Topuria is even has got more than him. So give me Topuria here. I just think it's his time, and yeah, what do you think, man?
Yeah, that the Mendez comparison's good. I think maybe Mendez is as powerful, if not more, but Topuria's strikes are way more accurate and make a lot more sense the way he puts them together.
He's a
So
way better striker
I
than Mendez.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
like I get what you're saying there. But yeah, dude. So what really worries me is just like Volkanovski getting knocked out in his last fight against Islam and pretty badly knocked out.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that's the one I forgot to. I knew I was missing one.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that invincible feeling, that invincible aura kind of goes away when something like that happens. And it's like it feels like it's more than just technique and skill and all that. It feels like it's like, okay, it feels like, oh wow, Volk just got KO'd. Like it feel like the energy of like that the fans and everyone has when thinking about Volkanovski changes after seeing something like that.
Sure.
So that's something that definitely worries me. Um, from just like a strategy and skill standpoint, one thing I love about Volk in this fight is his ability to distract and land with the hands and finish with kicks, which I think he'll be going to that leg, like you said with Topuria, where his legs turned out. The way Topuria stands, really boxing heavy on that front foot, and when you fight the way Topuria fights, you do have to establish a little bit of a lead hand just to like make sure you're not just winging overhands and like they're easy to see, they're telegraphed. So, when you lead with that, when you go with that lead hand, that you're putting your weight on your front foot. So it'll be interesting to see how Volkanovski attacks the lead leg. And the reason why I brought up how he distracts with the hands up top and then he'll finish with like a body kick or a leg kick a lot of the time. The reason why that's important is because Topuria's stance is so boxing, it's such a boxing style. When he defends, because he doesn't like to give up ground, he likes to be the pressure fighter. He's going to kind of like stand his ground and slip and like eat some sort of like how he kind of fights similar, very similar to how Canelo fights like in boxing. Topuria has that same sort of style. It's obviously
Sure.
meshed with MMA, but and doing that, getting distracted up top and already having your leg kind of in a bad position, then you fire that leg kick. Volkanovski fires that leg kick, and it's really just wide open. So that's something that I think is going to be a concern. But the aura of Volkanovski changed a little bit. He can get it back by winning this fight, definitely. But
He
right now,
can.
it's different right now. And exactly what you said about Volk in the pocket, because he has that in and out style, you can catch him on the way out and you can catch him on the way in. So we'll see how Topuria puts the pressure on, So he's
Yeah.
gonna force those things to happen. What were you gonna say?
I was just say yeah, you said he puts the pressure on, and also I think he's just faster than Volk. He's got faster hands.
Yeah,
And Volk being 35 and like, that chin maybe starting to be there, and his that decline is real. Maybe he starts to look a little slower in this fight than we're used to too.
very true. I still have faith in Volk's speed
Sure.
as far as footwork and all that in this fight, but I definitely agree with the hands. Yeah, dude. So it's just a really interesting matchup on all phases, like mental, like heart, all like the aura of Volkanovski versus the coming up of Topuria, and then like the skills and the strategy standpoint. Another thing is, City Kickboxing, they set Volkanovski up with strategy, dude. When he has a full camp, I feel like he's always fighting the way he should against the specific opponent he's going against. So it's gonna be wild, but yeah, I'm so 50-50. I'm gonna lean Volk. I'm gonna lean Volk on this fight just because like the leg kick aspect, and I love Volk, so I'll lean with him, but
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's pretty much 50-50 for me right now.
Yeah, incredible fight, man. I haven't been
Yeah,
this we talked about last year of this being like a fight that needed to be made this
yeah,
upcoming year, and it's like it's cool to see it come to fruition. Fingers crossed everything goes well, and both guys have an okay weight cut.
yeah, dude. We still got to get to weigh-ins and all that. Jesus.
Yeah, man. Speaking of getting to weigh-ins, the co-main event, we've got Robert Whittaker taking on the elusive Paulo Costa. James, fun matchup here. So crazy to think that the last time we saw Paulo Costa fight was against Luke Rockhold. One of my favorite fights ever. One of this podcast favorite fights ever.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
was there live, and like that moment when Luke just screamed "fuck you" and hit him in round three is like one of the greatest moments of all
It
time.
is
Like,
definitely.
just awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, you kick us off on this one.
Yeah, dude. So similar to the Volkanovski Topuria matchup. I mean, not the high stakes and all that, but the feeling of Robert Whittaker I'm comparing it to like Volkanovski, where it's like watching him against Duplessis. It felt like it's like okay, he has the chance to bring that aura back and be that contender and be that guy who can maybe win the belt. But the loss to Duplessis, because it's all only really ever been like Adesanya and wars with Yoel Romero, which are all very acceptable. Now, obviously, Duplessis is the champ now, but nobody saw that beatdown coming.
Sure.
And so how Whitaker is after that, and I also think like stylistically, Whitaker's pretty evasive with the feet, but like he's really gonna have to like land shots that Costa respects, and he didn't land shots that Duplessis respects. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Costa's like arguably even more of like a Terminator style than Duplessis, like less grappling, but like the striking is just like in right in your face all the time. Eats shots. His body's like made of stone, so you could just hit him in the body all day. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't seem. I think I don't know what the odds are on this. Did you say them? I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say him, but thank you for
Yeah,
reminding me. Right now, Whittaker is up to minus 250 and Costa is plus 205.
yeah, dude. I mean, the only thing that really worries me here, as far as going with Costa, is the time off. But I don't know how much that affects a guy like him because he's such a damn meathead. Like I
Yeah.
feel like he doesn't even like he doesn't doubt himself, or maybe he doubts himself, but he just goes in there and fights anyway. Um, so I think this is a good underdog bet with Costa, but I could be way wrong, and Whittaker could be way faster and just like stay on the outside, piece him up, land a takedown, or score some points with the double leg. But I like Costa in this fight, honestly. Even if it was pick 'em, I'd like Costa.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair enough, man. I've faded Rob in his last two fights. Like I bet on Vittori, which was a horrible bet. Like he beat the shit out of Vittori, and then I bet on Duplessis, and Duplessis beat the shit out of Rob. And I'm a big Rob guy. He's one of my favorite fighters ever. I'll be rocking my Reaper shirt this Saturday
Yeah.
for sure. But like my thought process was just like we kind of have seen Rob get dropped or hurt against Adesanya a couple times. He's been in wars against Romero, um, been in hard fights against Cannonier and Darren Till too. My thought process was just he's taking a lot of damage, and at some point his body's going to start to shut down. Didn't happen versus Vittori. It certainly happened versus Duplessis, but with that being said, too, like with his body being shut down, Rob came into that fight apparently injured, is what's been going around. He hasn't gotten into too much detail. He's just been saying, I don't want to make excuses, but it was not an ideal camp, and there were some circumstances that made things difficult. And other people have come out and said outright that he was just injured. So
Hmm.
listen, like you said, it's a get right spot for Whittaker. If I'm fading him off of the notion of him getting knocked out by these big physical guys like Duplessis, like Costa would certainly fit that narrative, right? It's just, Costa, he's not that much of a finisher, I guess, of himself. And he couldn't like get Rockhold out of there. And I mean, how bad did he slow down in the third round against
Right.
Rockhold, right? Like Rockhold finished that fight on top.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not betting it. I don't think I'm leaning Whittaker. I just think he's going to be able to be defensively sound and Costa just I don't know. He's just not the highest IQ fighter in my opinion,
Right.
and he might look really good in that first round, look really dangerous, but he's kind of defensive himself, and like that the fight against Adesanya is telling like about his aggressiveness. Same with the fight against Rockhold, his fights against Romero, even right. Like the first round was chaos, but the rest of the fight a little bit of a snooze fest. It's
Hmm.
just yeah, I'm going with Whittaker here. I don't feel super comfortable with him as a parlay piece, but I still might end up doing a little parlay with him.
Hmm.
I just don't think Costa. Yeah, I just don't think he's going to be able to land super clean on Whittaker.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough, dude. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's gonna be probably it's a good matchup either way.
yeah, fun fight too, and it's like we talk about narratives a lot. It's like Rob has a pretty big following, and I think that there's maybe the UFC likes this matchup for him as a bounce back spot.
Hmm.
And also Costa's been such a pain in the ass for the UFC to deal with. It's like, okay, if Costa takes this fight and then ends up pulling out last minute or pull some shit, maybe we can just cut him.
Hmm.
Um, so
Right.
I don't
But
know. I feel
and
like
then Costa has like a fan base as well. So it's like, well, then if he can finally get in the damn octagon and beat a guy like Robert Whittaker, that helps us out a lot as well.
absolutely, and I feel like the UFC can put him in a like title fight right away, coming off a win against Rockhold and a win against Whitaker. They're like, well, he's beaten two former champions.
Yeah, right.
He's fought, like you said, he's got his social media presence as well and his followers. One of the best Twitter games out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you can make fun fights with him against Strickland. You can make a fun fight against Duplessis. I
Hmm.
just think so it's interesting. I can't quite figure out the narrative angle for either for you know what I mean, but I think that
Hmm.
UFC just sees it as a win-win situation here.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, man. Moving along, we've got We've got a 170-pound matchup. We got Geoff Neal taking on Ian Machado, Garry. James, kick us off on this one, man.
Yeah, dude. I think that's, this is gonna be a. I would not be surprised if Neal knocks Garry out, and I would not be surprised if Garry absolutely pieces up Neal. So both of those things could happen. Um, Looking at the odds, Gary's a pretty decent favorite. I think it's like minus 230, and
Yeah,
Neal's like
Neal's
plus
plus
195.
190.
One plus 190, yeah, so plus 190. And yeah, dude, it'll be interesting to see. Neal has like more of like a boxing style. It'll be interesting to see who did Ian Garry face his last fight?
Neil Magny.
It was Neil Magny. So this is
Yeah.
like by far to me the best the hardest matchup he has. Where it's like, yeah, I get Neil Magny like wins a lot of like he wins a lot, but he wins in like a certain way that's not like dominant. It's like he either pitter patters you and gets a decision, or he
Yeah.
eats a bunch of shots and he has an amazing gas tank, and then he just finishes you off or like wins the last couple rounds pretty, like wins I guess strongly. I don't know, but yeah, dude, I think Gary's style is like made to go up against a guy who has like a boxing style because of his kickboxing repertoire. So Geoff Neal to me is a big step up in competition for Garry. So this will show like if he's the real deal or not. But I think that on paper, to me, Garry just has a style that would devastate a guy like Geoff Neal, or just pick him apart. Not maybe
Sure.
not devastate him, just pick him apart throughout the fight. All the shit that's going on with Garry on social media, it's like it'll be interesting how that plays out. And then you got the press conf. Was there a presser today?
I don't know, honestly. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know, but normally they do it on Thursdays, but I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything. But yeah, dude. So we'll see how all that plays out. But yeah, like I said, X's and O's standpoint, I think Ian Garry, kind of like 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 outstrikes Neal
Yeah.
and gets the W. So
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. And like you mentioned, it's that style that seems to give Geoff Neal problems, like those rangy kind of um, just point fighter almost.
mhm.
Stephen Thompson, Neil Magny, lost to Kevin Holland, but another like lanky kind of rangy guy. Um, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a good stylistic matchup for Garry. I will say that, Geoff Neal, I think a lot of the shots he landed on the Shavkat, like those would put
Knockout.
out Ian
Yeah,
Garry,
yeah.
and that certainly worries me. It's just, yeah. I don't know, dude. I think from like a betting standpoint, fight, I would almost rather bet like fight doesn't go the distance than to play, Ian Garry or Geoff Neal. Pretty split on the money line here. I think it's just priced about right. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for Geoff Neal for sure.
Mhm.
But I think that, at like minus 120, I think that if Geoff Neal wins this, he wins inside the distance. And I also think that, Ian Garry, while there's a hot, but, decent shot, he wins a decision fighting that point, fighting style, Geoff Neal took a shitload of damage against Shavkat, and, Ian Garry, for as much as I dislike him, he's a good striker. So I could see him putting Neal's lights out as well, but
Right.
yeah, as of right now, no bet on this for me. But I'll be rooting for Geoff Neal, and maybe I'll change my mind and throw a little something down one way or the other. James, moving along, fascinating matchup here. We've got a 135-pound title eliminator, pretty much. We've got Merab Dvalishvili taking on Henry Cejudo. Um, Dude, James, Merab devastated our boy fucking
Piotr.
Peter
Yeah.
Yan last fight. That sucked to watch.
Mhm.
Um, I think we both think that Jan was probably hurt going into that fight. That's kind of what's come out as well. But at the same time, I mean, like that performance was just like one of the best performances you'll ever see in the octagon. Crazy combination of pace and volume and offensive grappling, just like is seriously one of the most impressive performances you'll ever see.
Hmm.
Do you think Merab is going to be that pace, that grappling, that volume? Do you think that's going to be able to be put to use against Henry Cejudo here?
Uh, I don't think he's gonna be able to grapple Cejudo. I mean, I feel like it's gonna be really hard for him to take get a takedown. Like he can use those what he was doing against Jan. He failed on 40 takedowns in that fight because he just kind of shows you it to set up punches and all that. But he can do that. But I don't know. I feel like Cejudo should be able to out wrestle him if Merab tries to wrestle him. So, and then I think Cejudo's got better striking, but I just think that Cejudo's old now.
Yeah.
I think prime Cejudo pretty much takes care of Merab. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen in this fight, but I think that age is definitely a factor for Cejudo. I think it's Merab's time, and he has a lot of confidence right now. Um, I'd be really surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Merab is able to I guess I should say I wouldn't be super surprised if Merab was able to land takedowns on Cejudo. I just don't think he will, but I wouldn't be super surprised if he does because that would just show how high level he is. But yeah, I don't think he will, and then I feel like Cejudo's maybe a better striker than he is if it's just a stand-up fight, because so much of Merab's striking leans on his ability to wrestle. But I really don't know, and then Cejudo's so small, and he really hasn't proven that much at bantamweight, and I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's a weird matchup. It'll just and then the pace. I mean, Cejudo's gas tank historically maybe not the greatest in the world, but it's a 3-round fight, so it's he can make that happen pretty easily, I believe. So I'm leaning Cejudo honestly in this fight, but the thing that scares me is Merab's in his prime and Cejudo is exiting his prime. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, dude. I mean, plus 190 Cejudo in this spot in his prime, if it would feel like a no brainer. Cejudo,
Yeah.
you got to take a flyer on that. Yeah, dude. I don't know. I like Merab here. I think Merab's gonna get it done. I just think that it's sort of gonna look similar to the Aldo fight.
Okay.
Like that was on the same card in Salt Lake City as Rockhold versus Costa.
Yeah. So it's sorry, it's Aldo's gonna or Cejudo's gonna be able to defend, but all the pace is just gonna put those
Exactly.
scorecards in the favor of Merab.
Exactly. And by the
Yeah.
time Cejudo can really do anything or get the fight off the fence, it's like, oh, round's gonna be over and you're like 30 strikes behind, even
Hmm.
though not a lot of damage or something was done. That's honestly how I feel like this fight's gonna go. Yeah, at the same time, I'm not looking to bet Merab at this price just because if Cejudo is the Cejudo that fought Aljamain would didn't look bad. He looked like he
Hmm.
hadn't been in the octagon for a while and maybe looked a little rusty, but he didn't look bad by any means, and that was like a razor thin fight.
Hmm.
So if that Cejudo is now going to be a little better than that for performance, I mean, I kind of think Cejudo's the betting side, but it's
Yeah.
just if the same Merab shows up from the Piotr Jan performance, I wouldn't bet anybody in the world really against that guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially with that style. Yeah, dude. It's such an interesting fight, but and then another thing is if you're Cejudo and you're smart with game planning, which if you ask him, he's the smartest guy on this planet. So
Yeah,
as
sure,
far as
sure.
game planning, but if you're him, and if he really is what he says he is, the game plan to me would be to take it to Merab. Like if you're an Olympic gold medalist, dude, you should be able to put your own pace on Merab. Now he's far a lot of the times I don't like them bringing up the gold medalist shit, like when they bring it up with Yoel Romero. It's like, yeah, dude, he was 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
the same thing with Cejudo. It's like it was 15, 20 years ago or whatever it was, 15 years ago when he was a medalist. So let's so that's kind of a factor is how much his age, like I said, how much his age slowed him down. But if I'm Cejudo, you cannot let Merab dictate the pace. You have to wrestle him back. And that's like that should be his game plan going in. It's like meet in the middle and do not take a back step because it's not like Merab's like throwing Topuria punches out there, you know?
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's like meet him in the middle and wrestle him back. Cejudo should be diving for single legs. Cejudo should be trying to land trips and double legs and all that. He should be the one trying to dictate that and then hopefully have enough gas in the tank to make it through the third round. So that would be my game plan if I were him.
Yeah, sure, man. That's fair enough. I think that's a really good, a smart game plan. And when you say it like that, like Cejudo is a smart fighter, and I sort of like makes me kind of want to put a bet on him at plus
Right.
190. So we'll see where I am by the time fight day comes. Nothing right
Yeah.
now though.
Throw him in a
Um,
crazy parlay.
yeah, why not,
Yeah,
right?
right?
James, a fight that I do have a little bit of money on, Anthony Hernandez taking on Roman Kopylov.
Mhm.
I'll kick us off just because I got Hernandez in a parlay with Gamrot
Hell yeah.
for a few months. I'm still just adding to that Gamrot well that I'm just building up a giant bet on. Just working to get the plus money with the parlays and stuff. But yeah, I mean the line's kind of blown out now too. Like it was like minus 170. I mean it's up to like minus 260 at places now. Like a lot of money coming in on Hernandez. And I get it. I think like Kopylov is obviously like a really scary striker, really offensively sound when it comes to striking. And the constant thing I'm hearing this week, and like I've seen it in person, like his kicks are scary, right? And especially like when he throws really good body kicks, a guy like Fluffy who's been taken out to the body, I think that worries some people. Um, in Salt Lake City when he fought Claudio Ribeiro, that was like one of the I can't explain to you how loud the head kick sounded in that arena. It was like a shotgun blast in your ear, even though it was so far away. It was
Yeah.
nuts. So the dude has crazy, great offensive striking. It's just he's not defensively sound with his striking, and also like his grappling when he gets decent takedown defense. When the fight gets to the ground, he's kind of fucked. And Fluffy Hernandez is going to push a crazy pace and do everything he can to get this fight to the ground. Maybe it takes a little bit to do. Maybe he fucking gets killed in the process. I just think Fluffy is a really tough matchup because when it gets to the ground, it's probably round over or fight over for
Yeah.
Kopylov, in my opinion. And that's just because Fluffy is that good on the ground, and Kopylov really is that bad off his back. You know what I mean? We saw it in the Duraev fight. He just has a hard time getting back up and takes a lot of damage, doesn't really know what to do. So I like Fluffy here. Put him in that parlay. But a very interesting fight. I could definitely see why people are taking the underdog shot on Kopylov. I just think that this is kind of a fight that Fluffy wins like 75% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I totally agree. I think it's so funny that like these Russian strikers like Kopylov and that dude who just came in the UFC with like the two different colored eyes who looks like crazy.
Oh, Sharapudin.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like how hilarious is it that you come from Russia and you have zero like grappling ability when you get taken down? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so funny because
It's true.
it's like you're either like this a striker from Russia and you have zero grappling, or you're like a wrestler and you have grappling that's like 50 years ahead of like the rest of civilization. So it's like,
So
yeah, dude.
true, dude. It's funny.
Yeah. So it's like with Kopylov, I've never been like I've never seen the hype that he gets. I get that he beat Ribeiro or whatever, but and he's beaten some like he's had impressive performances. And like you said, I don't know. I'm not in the arena when I hear a kick, and I'm not sparring with him, feeling the kick or holding the pads, feeling the kick or whatever. So it's hard to tell. And that could be something where it's like when you watch Alex Pereira swing a punch, it's like, what the hell was that? Like that's
Yeah, it's
just
like
like
lightning striking a tree.
yeah, exactly. And it's hard to tell on TV, but like maybe Kopylev's kicks or whatever are similar where it's just freakishly weird power.
Shout out to
Um,
our boy Action. I was there with him with that fight, and I think that kick it still gives us PSD when fucking lightning strikes. It's like a flash of that kick happening.
that's
Yeah.
so funny, dude.
It's seriously, dude. It's one of the loudest things I've ever heard. It was
I
unbelievable.
got to go back and watch that fight. I did not watch that fight when I was like
Yeah.
looking over all this. But yeah, dude, it's Fluffy is like so impressive to me, and you know me, like I always like to side with the striker and like the stand up style. But his grappling style, I just really enjoy because it's like he embraces that griminess, and then he gets you down, and he just beats on you, and then you give something up, and he's so smooth transitioning into submissions. I like dudes who, when they grapple, like they're not looking to hold you up against like I'm cool with grappling. It'll never be like my favorite fighter will probably never be a grappler, but like if you grapple the way that Fluffy has so far, you know, in this fight he might not do it, and it might piss me off, and I won't be a fan like a fan of his anymore. But like if you grapple the way that he grapples, I think that's like that's like the best way to do it in the UFC.
He's hunting for the finish for sure.
Hunting the
Even
finish,
if
yeah.
it goes to decision, he's hunting the entire time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, dude, I'm excited to see what he does in this fight, and I'm excited to see if like Kopylov like levels up his takedowns and all that, and just to see the kicks, see if he lands a couple, see how Hernandez feels it. But I think that this could be a fight where it's like not a whole lot of fun. Like, you know, it's kind of like watching lava take over like
Yeah,
you know, an
sure.
island, you know. So that's how I see it most likely going, but who knows? We'll see what Kopylov, how much he's worked on his grappling and
Totally.
takedown.
Yeah. Like I said, I have Fluffy with parlayed with Gamrot, and also I just have a little sprinkle. I took Fluffy by KO, TKO at plus 450 because like I think submission or decision are probably more likely than Hernandez getting a KO. But I mean his ground and pound is nasty,
Yeah,
dude. And we saw Kopylov get the shit kicked out of him on the ground against Duraev. I think Fluffy could do something similar.
right. You always got to remember, ground and pound counts as a TKO, so you know
Yeah, heck yeah.
doesn't have to be standing.
Cool, man. So that's everything for the main card. We'll run through we'll just try to touch on all of these
Yeah,
the prelims. That's it, James. For me, that's like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 main card for
yeah.
pay-per-view, if I'm being honest. Love it. Undercard, not great. Not
Not
great.
great, dude.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that. That was something I was like, when I was looking over this, I was gonna bring that up. I was like, God, this undercard kind of sucks because it's like the matchups too, like especially in the early prelims, like so many of these fights I feel like are just going to be domination. But
Yeah.
we'll go into them
We'll
and
see.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'll touch that. So I guess the featured prelim, James, we got Amanda Lemos taking on Mackenzie Dern in a 115-pound matchup. I like this matchmaking, I think both are coming off really like losses. They got their fucking ass kicked in. And I think this is kind of just a good way to like sort one of these ladies out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Kind of I think the UFC would prefer Dern at this point in her career. Just got a little bit of the youth on her, and obviously some of that appeal to the the male fan base.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting matchup. It's pretty binary in my opinion. It's like if Dern gets the fight to the ground, like we've seen how horrendous Lemos is off her back, and like how willing she kind of is to flop to her back at times. I don't think that bodes well against someone like Dern, who like, wow, we talk every time she fights that like her struggles are not with when the fight's on the ground, it's getting the fight to the
Yep.
ground. Her takedowns are not great, and hopefully she's just continuing to drill those and just will have that overall grappling edge here to where those takedowns aren't as hard to come by as it was against someone like Andrade. Yeah, I took just a little shot by Dern by decision at plus 460 just because I think that there's a good we saw Lemos, she got dominated by Zhang, but she didn't get finished. There's a lot of times she could have quit or taken that submission that way out, and I don't think she looks for that way out. And so I think Dern's probably gonna be able to ride her out a lot on top. Um, you know, I know she got choked out by Andrade, but she actually got caught there. Like, wasn't her looking for a way out. It was like she was stuck in the standing guillotine or the
Hmm.
standing arm triangle after getting the shit kicked out of her. So, Yeah, I like Dern by decision. I think plus 460 on women's MMA like fight to win by decision is a big line.
I don't know what the odds are, but it would be interesting to like throw the sprinkle on a Lemos KO.
I'll tell you
Just
what that is. It's only plus 200.
oh god, that's not even
Yeah.
worth it then. I thought it would be
Yeah.
way up there. That's so funny. They obviously know who Mackenzie Dern is.
Yeah, they have it figured out. And Lemos, like just overall, she's minus 140 right now, and Dern is plus 110. Dern opened up at like plus
Yeah,
165, so a ton of
right.
money has come in on the Dern side.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say. Um, yeah, dude, I after watching Dern's last performance, it's like, bro, how do you even get behind that anymore? Like, especially like the getting rid of I don't know if she is she back with Jason Perillo and he's
That's what I've heard. I
oh,
heard
okay.
that he's not going to be in her corner, but that she's back working with him.
Yeah, well, it was so funny when she was just getting destroyed by Andrade and Rogan just kept saying like I think he said it afterwards, after the fight, like, "Why would you fire Jason
Yeah,
Perillo
yeah.
for your boyfriend or whatever?" But people make questionable decisions in women's MMA. I have said that for a long time. Some of the fight IQ moments are not good. You
Yeah.
know, the skill and the fighters. You know, once you get in that top 10 for the women's divisions, is it's up there. But some of the IQ, just like the fight strategy, the fight IQ, bad. And Dern is like the poster child for that. So
Yeah.
Lemos throws wild hands, you know, it, I could easily see Dern just like getting in that same scrap as she did with Jessica Andrade. So we'll see how this fight plays out. But it's like what you said is as long as she commits to grappling, but even her damn takedowns are just like they were such garbage against
So
Andrade.
bad, dude.
I mean, they were really bad. They were so telegraphed, and they were like they looked like weak, like unsturdy, like she didn't have
Yeah.
like good balance on them. Um, So even someone like Lemos, who, like you said, like drops to her back and all that, like I feel like she'll be able to defend some, and I feel like Lemos is going to win. But I'm once again I'm going to root for Mackenzie Dern just because it's more fun because she actually has a good following and good hype, and she's
Yeah.
a lot younger. Like
Yep.
we know Lemos isn't about to like go on a title run, you know?
No, she kind of had her
Yeah,
shot, and UFC is going to make her win like 3 or 4 fights in a row and again, and if
yeah,
she wants to get another title shot. So
exactly.
that's why it feels like maybe it's sort of favorable for Dern, one that she could possibly win, and especially because Lemos isn't quite as physical as someone like Andrade. But yeah, we'll see. Cool, man. Marcos Rogério de Lima taking on Justin Tafa. James, I saw this one live. A lot of dudes I've seen fight in Salt Lake City are on this card. I'm just realizing. But Derek Lewis, that flying knee to
Yeah.
the ground and pound was incredible. Had a bet on Lewis in that fight. I mean, that was incredible. What a
Hmm.
Masvidal move. I
Yep.
don't know what else to say. Like, this one's pretty binary. It's like Tafa's not that great, and unless he's gonna land something huge that shuts down Delima fast, I just see Delima probably taking over relatively easy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Um, That's interesting. See, dude, this is where these fucking Tafa brothers, I'm always getting confused on. But yeah, dude,
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
I've heard like Whittaker and like a couple other guys talk about Tafa like he's like a special talent, you know? And striking wise, they were talking about. And it's just like I keep waiting for this to happen. Like they say he just is like he fights with like a smoothness of like a lighter guy, but he's like the maximum weight limit, you know? So we'll see. I think this will just come down to whoever lands the big punch first, as many heavyweight fights do. I just hope it's not one of those heavyweight fights where they both swing and miss like 15 times in the first round, and then the next 2 rounds are just them staring at each other, just
Yeah.
puffing air. But we'll see. I think the Lima, he's got kicks. We'll see how Tafa deals with that. But I'm gonna go for Tafa just because of the shit that I hear, the shit that I've heard on podcasts and all that about
Yeah, fair enough, dude. Not one I'm looking to bet on really in any
him.
way. I think the Lima has a lot of upside with grappling too. That's why that's what I mean when I say he's going to run through. I'm like, I think
Ah,
if he gets on top, Tafa is horrible off his back.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
so like maybe like sub plus 600, plus 700, something like that is like an interesting, just a little bit on there, but really not looking to bet this one. Cool, man. Moving along, we've got Rinya Nakamura taking on Carlos Vera. I mean, dude, Nakamura, pretty cool prospect coming up from Japan. He really should win here. I'm not interested in betting it at minus 1400 favorite.
Minus 20,000.
You might as well bet in the distance if you think the discrepancy is going to be that big. You might as well bet Nakamura in the distance. That's like minus 175 now. It's been steamed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think Nakamura's got him covered here. What about you?
Yeah, he does have him covered. It's kind of funny. I was like, all right, I got to watch film on this Vera guy. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Like, he's going against this top prospect. Like, it's a total hype up fight for Nakamura. Um, Also, like, Vera's like 37 or something like that. He's like
Yeah, he's
36,
old,
37
dude.
years old. Like, so he's very fun and he's like just kind of trying to make something happen in the UFC. Yeah, dude, I think Nakamura is going to be so fast, but Vera has like kind of a funny style. It's like his style like makes me think he believes in himself. I just don't think it's like good enough and he's too old to like really make anything happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got
Yeah.
Nakamura like big time. Would be amazing if Vera just pulls some a rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, cool, man. Moving along, Mingyang Zhang taking on Brendson Ribeiro. James, I actually have a pretty strong opinion on this fight, dude.
Okay, that's hilarious because this is one of the fights that I didn't watch at all. Like I
Yeah,
don't know
sure.
anything about these guys.
I bet Zhang at minus 120, and it's even coming down a little bit now, like minus 115, minus 110-ish. I might bet a little more. Um, I mean, I think he should be like a significant favorite in this fight. I don't think Ribeiro is good at all. I think that in his fight on Contender Series he had against, I think it was Lopez he took on. Yeah, Bruno Lopez. Like, I mean, I thought that he was starting to get walked down in that fight. I don't think he like looked very good. Kind of doesn't mix up a lot of his strikes, just like very basic. And the one thing he has is like, I think, power. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be a whole lot faster than Zhang. I don't think that like, I mean, I think Zhang, like his like road to the UFC fight or whatever that series is, like he ate some huge shots, and the last time he was knocked out was like 2018, and if you go back and look, it's like 2019. Sorry, but if you go back and look, like he looks um like physically a different fighter now. Like he's on
Hmm.
some much better vitamins. Like I'll just
Hmm.
say that, right? So I think his chin and cardio mixed with the fact that he's only 25 and from China and like could be like their next like, I guess like knockout artist star, whatever you want to say. Like I think they see a lot of potential in him at light heavyweight and heavyweight. And I just think he's so much of a better and cleaner, more technical striker than Ribeiro. It's like as long as he doesn't die in the first round, I just really think he's gonna put the pace on Ribeiro down the stretch and beat the shit out of him. So
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
looking to maybe even add a little bit more on this bet, but I took his money line minus 120.
Yeah. I'm interested in this fight just because I that light heavyweight division is it was dead for so long and now all of a sudden it's like adding Pereira, Jamal Hill coming back and like Yuri and like you get it's starting to become the monster division again and it would be cool if like this Zhang dude is like another one to add to the list if that's
Yeah,
how you're like seeing him on tape and like all that. And I just looked at his record because, like I said, he's like won his last like 8 or 9 fights that he's had, which is
all in the
crazy.
first round.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
So that's why, dude. That's why I say how important records are when you're looking at total records. It's
yeah.
just some guys have to fight for money, some guys have the reasons, and they take L's early on in their career and it can all change, as long as they're willing to like commit to the sport. A lot of the times guys lose a couple times and they're done or they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But if they're committed and trying to win, losses do not matter early in your career.
Yeah. And if you start winning more and stuff, you get more money, you get a better doctor, better
It
vitamins. It's how it goes, dude.
all adds up.
Yeah, but yeah. And last thing I'll say, like Ribeiro, this dude, he's been like since he got knocked out twice pretty bad in 2020 or 2022, just like, like 2 or so years ago. So hittable. I just think that Zhang's got like has real deal power, and I just think it's kind of being set up for Zhang to win. And I'm sort of perplexed by this line, and that's why I've been waiting to add more. I'm just like waiting for someone to drop a nuke on Zhang and see the line go back up to like minus 140, 150, whatever it was at.
Hmm.
But it hasn't happened yet, and maybe it won't. So maybe I'll get in, and if he dies, he dies, as we say.
Hell yeah.
Quinlan versus Barlow. I didn't do tape on this. I got nothing on this one.
Barlow, I watched a little bit. He looks like a good prospect. It looks like I don't know. What are the odds on this fight? Because I didn't look at odds. Do you have them pulled up?
Yeah, give me one sec here.
I don't see them on this.
Quinlan's plus 170 right
Okay,
now.
yeah, that's what I
Barlow
thought.
minus 200, minus 205 ish.
That's what it looked like on film to me. And Quinlan came in with a little bit of hype, and I actually was like, "Ooh, I kind of like this guy's style." And then I watched him fight in the UFC, and I was like, it's just a little too slow for his like
Oh
style of
yeah,
striking.
I'm remembering that Trey Waters now fight. I literally haven't looked at this fight at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this Barlow guy's like a dude who I feel like the UFC wants to, see what he has, and this is a good fight because he looks talented.
Yep.
It's just a good fight to put him in there with, and one of these two guys is going to get like it'll be good for the UFC either way. So I'm going to say Barlow will win just to like make it throw a pick out there, but yeah, we'll see. Should be interesting.
Yeah, cool, man. Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. I mean, this is a hilarious fight. I'm not gonna like say I don't really have a strong opinion. I'll just say that I don't think either of these guys are very good. So seeing like Oban Elliott is minus like what is minus 305, minus 335, I'm seeing in some places. Like that seems insane. I'm not gonna put my money on Val Woodburn, but I would understand someone taking a little underdog shot there. I just think from a betting perspective, that's a crazy line.
Yeah, the Welsh gangster. Um,
Yeah.
I've heard, like, I've seen a couple people, they like this Welsh guy, or like I don't know his, but I watched his film. Like I saw Bisbing talking to him, and then I saw it seemed. Then I looked at the odds, and I'm like, oh, maybe this guy's got some hype around him because they brought this Val guy in to fight Bo Nickel. Like he can't be, whatever, but he can't be too terrible. But you watch film on both of them, and the Val guy I haven't really watched too much on, and also he fought Bo Nickel, I think at 185. But yeah, this the Welsh gangster Elliot. I was expecting when I like went to go watch his highlights and watch his old fights, like in Cage Warriors or whatever it was in.
Yeah.
Um, I was expecting to see like him do some cool shit, but he just looked like a basic fighter type deal. He
Yep.
might be a badass, but like his fighting style, there was like nothing that jumped off. Where I was like, oh wow, like that could work in the UFC. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Dude, I'm almost like talking myself into a vow. I hate myself that I'm thinking about it, but you're right though, because it like, that Bo Nickel fight, he looked so small in there against Bo
Yeah.
Nickel because it was at 185, and this is gonna be 170, but Woodburn could look like a whole different fighter.
Hmm.
Maybe have a little bit more confidence. Like you said, nothing about Oban Elliott sticks out as being like, wow, this guy has crazy skills or anything.
Right.
Yeah, just yeah, it is what it is. Cool, man. Last fight we'll talk about. First one technically on the card. We got Andrea KGB Lee taking on Miranda Maverick. UFC seems to love to give Miranda like the opening slot on pay-per-view cards. It's weird. It's something I've noticed. Yeah, I mean I like Miranda here. I think it's probably a somewhat close fight, but I just think Angela Lee has looked pretty bad in her last few fights and is
Hmm.
like noticeably slowing down. Granted, not the easiest matchups like Macy Barber, Viviana Rujo, Natalia Silva, like pretty high level girls in the weight class. You know what I mean? Um, it's just I mean, yeah, what can you say? She looks slow, man. She looks like she's losing a step and is just stuck in a gear beneath these gals. And I think that on the other side, UFC still sees some potential in Maverick. I mean, she's like 25 or 26 still,
Mhm.
obviously still getting better. Yeah, it just feels like a timing kind of fight, you know. I think
Right.
Maverick's gonna get it done.
Yeah, dude. I think I'm with you on that. Andrea Lee was pretty entertaining, like when she had her little run to the top 15. Like she's a tough fighter. She has like you said, she's just like a gear below everyone else. Like to me, she has like pretty good skills. She's just like not the most athletically
No,
gifted.
not athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, got a cough. But yeah, yeah, we'll see how the fight plays out. If Maverick loses, that would be I feel like it would be bad for her career, like where she's at, because she's trying to build up, and this is definitely a fight where the UFC's trying to build her up. And we know Andrea Lee's not about to run through the uh run through the division and make it to a title fight anytime soon. So yeah, it's like evident that this is a matchup that the UFC feels like is favoring Maverick.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I want Andrea Lee to win for whatever reason, but just because she put on some entertaining performances. But yeah, I agree with you. Maverick's younger. She's got
Yeah, and
good
they've kind of
grappling.
given her a killer's row to end her career, you know.
Right.
So yeah, Mavericks. It does, you know, it could be a winnable fight for her. I think more winnable, but than her last three for sure.
Yeah.
For speaking on Lee. Yeah, man, cool, James. That's all I got, man.
All right, cool. Should be live on the for the fights on Saturday. Definitely live for the main card. So I'll hit you up.
Yeah, we'll talk, man. Everyone, thanks so much for listening. Good luck if you're betting this weekend, and enjoy a fucking awesome main card.